Welcome to Watertown Sports Talk, everyone. I'm Richard Najarian. My guest today is Dick Berardino of the Boston Red Sox. Most viewers in Watertown know who Dick is, but those few who may not, I'll give you just a brief rundown of his background. They say Johnny Pesky is Mr. Red Sox. Well, they're wrong. This is Mr. Red Sox, our own Watertown Dick Berardino. As you probably know, and if you don't, I'll tell you again, great athlete at Watertown High School, at Holy Cross. He was a former high school teacher and coach. He's in several halls of fame. Former bullpen third base coach for the Red Sox. He's been a minor league manager for the Red Sox for many, many years. He's in his 41st season with the Red Sox. He's on Channel 38 Sports Time Sunday nights. He's now a consultant with the Red Sox and is the recipient of 2 World Series rings as well. I'm sure I left something out, but Dick will forgive me. That all right, Dick?
Outstanding. I can't say anything bad about
Good
that
enough?
introduction. Thank you.
All right, well, welcome to Watertown Sports Talk.
Nice to be
Glad
back.
to have you here. All right, folks, we're going to get right into it. We're going to talk about some players. We're going to talk about some upcoming players and some other things that are baseball interesting. David Ortiz injury. Is it really bad, Dick? Is he going to overcome this? He had a knee scope, but he still seems to be hurting.
I think he's going to overcome it because he played most of the year last year when it was really hurting him, and he put up some pretty good numbers. He's had the surgery, and it was coming along slowly but okay, you know, with that Japan trip and all the other stuff that was going on. And then that head-first slide in first base hurt him. That's when he kind of re-injured it a little bit, bruised it, okay? And so they're just taking some precautionary steps right now. But I think it'll get stronger. He's having treatment. I don't think unless he does something sliding or gets hit in the knee with a pitch or something like that, I think he's going to be all right.
Because his numbers were starting to climb a little bit before he did that slide. Yeah. Well, Dick, let's switch a little. You know, I flip around a lot. Let's go to the Japan trip. Do you think the Japan trip really affected the beginning of the season for these guys?
I think yes. I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I think it caught up to him in Toronto. I think it caught up to him a little bit in Tampa Bay. Talking to people like Jerry Remy and Don Osillo who made the trip and some of the players and stuff. 17-hour trip, but they did a lot of stuff over there. I mean, they did clinics, they did personal appearances.
They were busy.
They were busy, and I think along with that, plus trying to get in games and then going to LA and then going back to Toronto, I think it did affect them. I thought they handled it pretty well because they got off to a decent start this spring. But like I said, it caught up to them in Toronto when they got swept, and it caught up to them in Tampa Bay when they got swept. So it did affect them.
It seems to me from what you read, they never say it, but it seems to me that they really didn't want to take this trip. They don't say it, but if you read between the lines, it was like, this is a pain in the neck.
Yeah, you know, I kind of felt that a little bit. I mean, I think sometimes there's things you do as an employee, you know, that you do because these people are paying you, you know, and they're getting some pretty big paychecks coming in here, you know what I mean? So, plus with Daisuke, and you know, and the other guys, Japanese players and things, I think it was great goodwill tour. I think it's going to help a lot because of the Asian influence now coming into baseball. So, but if you had a choice, if they could vote on it, I think they'd vote against it.
Forget about it.
Yeah.
Is this going to happen every year with some major league teams? Are they going to play out of the country at the beginning of the year? Do you know?
I don't know.
A regular thing?
I don't know, Dick. But you know something? It wouldn't surprise me. You know, I don't think you'll see the Red Sox doing this right away again. Okay, but I wouldn't be surprised because other teams are getting Japanese players and Chinese players and that type of thing. So you may see this happen more often. Maybe every other year or something like that.
Yeah. Okay. As long as the Red Sox don't have to do it every year, that'll knock them out. All right, Dick, we're going to go to some new names we've been seeing with the Red Sox this season. Brandon Moss. What can you tell us about him? Who is Brandon Moss?
Brandon Moss, who's been around about 6 or 7 years. I think he came to us first after we drafted him in 2002. Was originally an infielder, okay? Really good kid, okay? Like most players, a little immature when they start, all right? Then we converted him to the outfield. All right, and now he's also playing some first base. Always had a good-looking bat. All right, about his 3rd year, I think he had an outstanding year in Augusta. Then went up to AA and continued. I think he hit about 360 that year.
Really?
You know?
Yeah.
So you know he's got himself into a pretty good prospect. Become a pretty decent outfielder with a good throwing arm, and now he's playing some first base just to add some versatility to his play. But A really, really terrific kid, very, very well-spoken, a gentleman type of kid who I'm very happy that he's doing well. Kind of in a bind because where is he going to play? You know what I mean? Always on the trading block.
Find a spot for him.
Spot.
But he's a young fellow, isn't he?
Yeah, he's only about 23, 24 years old. Yeah.
So they wouldn't want to let him go if
they wouldn't, but with the signing of J.D. Drew for that contract, and you got Coco still with us, you know, right now he's probably the best fourth outfielder we have.
I would think. That's another question I was going to ask you a little later, since you mentioned Coco. What are we going to do with Coco?
Well, you know, he's been on the trading block because of the, Ellsbury becoming, such a good-looking prospect. But with his injuries, a little here, a little there, a lot of clubs look at that and they kind of back off a little bit, like, oh, do we trade for him and then he can't play? Because he does have some tools,
Yeah.
So it's been kind of a bind, but fortunately, in a sense, because of some injuries, and platooning a little bit because he's a switch hitter, they've been able to get him some playing time. But I would see that somewhere along the line something's going to happen. Okay, now with Moss kind of becoming more and more better looking, they may say, well, gee, now we can maybe afford to, because if someone breaks down, you've got Moss. It's kind of a bind, really.
It is. It would save the money, too, to keep Moss rather than Coco.
Oh, absolutely. Moss is probably making the minimum, which is about only $380,000.
Well,
that's all.
You and I, that's nothing.
That's chump change, right?
Yeah, that's nothing. Tell me about Jed Lowry. Now, he's been up and he's been playing a couple of different positions. What about him in terms of his future with Boston?
Jeff Lowry was a #1 draft choice, if I can remember correctly, and started off as a second baseman, right, with some pretty good tools and always a pretty decent-looking hitter. And then they started moving around a little bit, so where he's becoming kind of a valuable utility player right now, okay? But he's progressed on every level, right? And now he's done a good job of filling in.
He has.
Because now he's playing more shortstop, but he's played a little third base, played second base. But again, right now he's probably in a utility role. But when Cora comes back, they may have to send him back down to Pawtucket. That's the only thing. But I think his future looks good. If something happens to Lugo, he can go into shortstop. Okay. If something happens and they don't re-sign Cora, he could be that utility infielder. There's a lot of possibilities.
Is he young enough to be the shortstop of the future, or is that too far away?
No, he's only about 24 years old in that particular area, 23, 24. I think Lugo signed a 3-4 year contract.
You got Lugo for a couple more
years. Okay, I mean that's not necessarily that they can always trade people if they have to, and people might want somebody, but. I mean, if they didn't keep Lugo after 2 more years and he was still around, he's only 26, 27, so that's still young.
Is he good enough for them to think about trading Lugo? Not that anybody wants Lugo, but if they could, could he do it now? Could he play shortstop regularly now?
I would think so. I've seen him in the minor leagues play both shortstop and second base. He's always been a kid that's never felt intimidated.
Yeah, he seems confident.
He's very confident in himself. He handles himself well. Doesn't get flustered. So, I mean, to me, if say Lugo went down with a serious injury, I think he could fit right in there and play every day.
And he wouldn't lose a beat.
No.
All right. How about Clay Buchholz? Is he the real, not Clay Buchholz?
Right, that's right, Clay Buchholz.
Is he the real deal? He's been pitching well the last couple of games out.
Yeah, he's like anything else. He's still young, and I know he pitched a no-hitter last year, so everybody thinks once you pitch a no-hitter, you're all set for your life, but you're not. In baseball, when you hit the big league, sometimes the hardest thing is to stay there.
Right.
But no, he's the real thing. I mean, he doesn't have like as good a fastball as Beckett, or where he's going to throw 95, 96, 97 every time. But he has a 90s fastball, but he's got a great changeup, and he's got an outstanding what we call 12 to 6 curveball. Okay.
Explain that for the viewers.
12 to 6 means when you go from 12 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Okay, his curveball goes from 12 o'clock up here down to 6 o'clock. Really drops. All right.
Wow.
And so he's got good enough stuff, and he's been pitching well lately. With him, I think it's a question of letting him pitch, and when he goes through his lumps and times when he doesn't do well, you just say that's okay. You're in there. I think to me he's the best fifth pitcher in a rotation right now in the big leagues. I mean, usually a fifth guy is a guy that is just there to try to get you through 5 or 6 innings, but if he wins, okay. If he doesn't, because you got 4 real good guys, if you got 4 real good guys. So, he's a real thing.
How about this guy that's been around for a couple of years now, young kid, doesn't seem to be able to do it, Craig Hansen. What's the deal with Craig?